It's time for AgriTalk, a discussion of issues and events important to rural America. Here's Mike Adams.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AgriTalk. We are once again in Phoenix, Arizona for the final day of the National Ethanol Conference, and we'll be going over several areas concerning the ethanol industry here on our program today, including some very interesting numbers from economist John Urbanchuk. John is with Cardno Entrix, and he always has some very interesting analysis of the biofuels industry and its impact, not only for just corn farmers, not only for ethanol producers, but for all of us, and we'll get to those numbers in just a moment. Later we'll be talking about several other issues facing the ethanol industry. So glad you have joined us here on our program today. All right, so let's get right to it with John Urbanchuk. And John, good to see you again. At a time when Congress is looking to make cuts, we understand that. The ethanol industry understands that things are going to be changing, and it's going to require some moving around, reshuffling, reshaping of the tax incentives and things like that. So that's a battle that will be fought. But when you bring to the table some numbers of support saying, here's what the ethanol industry does for the economy, here's what it does for job creation, well, that brings a little more weight to the table in your favor when you're making some of those choices.
Oh, it absolutely does, Mike. I mean, when you think about it, this industry has grown significantly over the last 20 years. Last year, we produced over 13 billion bushels of billion gallons of ethanol. And when you look at what that does in terms of the overall economy, it contributes about $54 billion to the American economy. It supports over 400,000 jobs in the entire economy. Now, obviously, those are not just jobs producing ethanol or growing corn, but all of the jobs that are supported by all of the economic activity that industry supports again. And so we're looking at a very, very significant manufacturing sector industry. I say this every year when we talk, is that people don't think about ethanol. It is a manufacturing sector that is growing. And as everybody knows, we have a tendency to ship a lot of our manufacturing jobs offshore. This is one that is growing here, and it's growing in importance.
Let me go over those numbers again that you have put together. Over 70,000 Americans are employed directly by the production of ethanol and in industries providing goods and services to ethanol producers. More than 400,000 Americans have been able to keep their jobs or find new ones because of ethanol production. And as you said, about $54 billion added to the national gross domestic product and $36 billion to household incomes because of the ethanol industry. Very significant numbers.
They are significant numbers. And again, it's a growth industry and one that people don't think about in terms of its overall importance. But without this industry, we would be not nearly as beneficial in terms of generating employment as we have been. I mean, jobs are the real problem in the economy today, and this is an industry that's adding jobs and supporting jobs.
Now, let me ask you something else, because you watch this closely as an economist. There's a lot of criticism being leveled against ethanol causing food price inflation and causing all these problems here and around the world. You study food price inflation very closely. What are you seeing historically with food prices right now? Are they going through the roof, as some would claim they are?
No, I don't believe they are. We had in 2010 a year-over-year increase in consumer food prices measured by the CPI of less than 1%, 0.8%, which is hardly inflationary. This year, we're starting to see a little acceleration in food prices, but there's a lot going on. One, we've had a very nasty winter, which has had an impact on fresh fruits and vegetables and processed fruits and vegetables. And we're starting to see the impact in terms of livestock prices, particularly in beef and hogs, that are a result of production decisions that were made a year or so ago. And they're finally working their way through. So that's had an impact. The other thing to keep in mind is we do have high prices, and that's also benefiting and offsetting the price of the impact of somewhat high corn prices that we have right now. I don't think we're looking for food prices that are going to go through the roof by any measure. I'm looking this year for a CPI on a year-over-year basis for CPI for food of around 3%, and that's well under the 10-year average of food prices that we've seen in the U.S.
The other point I often make is if you took all the corn out of ethanol production is going in now, and we sold it to some other country, a lot of people wouldn't think anything of that, but it would still be gone, and you wouldn't have the benefits of the increased fuel production.
Well, not only that, but if we took that corn and we shipped it to somebody else for processing through exports, we would also lose that feed value of distiller's grain that's put back in. Keep in mind that there's 17.5 pounds of distiller's grains for every bushel of corn that's made into ethanol, and that's pretty significant because that goes directly back into the livestock sector and offsets that amount of corn that's being used. So we would lose that benefit, but you're absolutely right. If that corn were being used for something else, it still wouldn't be available.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, that's John Urbanchuk, economist with Cardno Entrix, and some very interesting numbers about the economic impact of the ethanol industry. Our news brought to you by AuctionTime.com. Use AuctionTime.com to buy heavy-duty trucks, farm equipment, and construction equipment. No buyer's fees, no hidden reserves, and you can register for free at AuctionTime.com. Live bidding opens today for many machines, so visit AuctionTime.com today. Our poll question this week at AgriTalk.com, we're asking you, would you rather have Congress raise taxes or cut services to balance the budget? Of course, the fear is they'll do both, but if you picked one or the other, would you rather them raise taxes or cut services to try to balance the budget? Log on and vote at AgriTalk.com. Poll question brought to you by Commodity Classic, just a little over a week away in Tampa, Florida, coming up March 3rd through the 5th. We hope to see many of you there. For more details, go to the website www.commodityclassic.com. Again, Commodity Classic coming up March 3rd through the 5th. Today, we're in Phoenix, Arizona for the National Ethanol Conference. We're going to take a look at the global situation for ethanol, and when we come back, we'll talk with Bliss Baker. Stay with us. This is AgriTalk.